Welcome to our podcast, The Words That Make Us.
Consider this time with us as your excuse to take a break from everything.
Every episode, we choose a word that makes us think, wonder, or dream. We read a range of texts that explore different aspects of this word.
And we let our thoughts wander. We hope that yours will too. So grab your favourite tea.
Or a beer.
And join me, Rama Shah.
And me, Tony Bailey. Let's go!
So today's episode is about home.
Driving home for Christmas.
I know that song. I like that song. Yeah.
It's that time of year.
It is, yes.
We're just getting towards December, so all the radio stations, the shops are playing Christmas music. And
Absolutely.
I hate most Christmas music, but Driving Home for Christmas, I really like that song.
Is that home for you? Does that signal?
Saccharine, sweet memories of packing the car and driving home for Christmas, or being in the car going to family for Christmas.
Oh, that's lovely.
Chris Rea.
Yeah. He has a great voice. I don't know if I know any of his other songs, but this was Driving Home for Christmas.
Yeah, it comes from the northeast of England. He's a Geordie, man.
Geordie.
Yeah, Chris Rea. And just a bit of an unfortunate name. Imagine having a surname, Rea.
Rea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But.
Yeah, exactly. Chris Bott.
But what? Yeah, okay.
But why does that make me feel kind of slightly sentimental?
Yeah.
What is it about that? And I guess also the association with Christmas, since Christmas is coming up.
I know.
Home and Christmas have a very, very tight bond for me.
They definitely do. I think for everybody that I know. Yeah. Not for me, but I totally get it. And it's like, also I find it very, very interesting how a lot of people, so I subscribe to all of the, meditation and, self-development.
Literally all of them.
I mean, in terms of thought, I subscribe to those thoughts.
I see. Yeah, sorry. I thought that's a lot.
All the websites.
It's a lot of meditating.
No, but I like how all of them are now trying to prepare people for being triggered, because you're going home, you're going to be with family. So what are you going to do not to be triggered or pulled into arguments or things like that? And I'm like, that is very interesting, because to some people, Christmas means joy, or actually to most people, but there's always this element of like, ooh, there's going to be some family drama as soon as I hit home.
Yeah, it's like there's something about when you are at home, there's a different set of rules about your behaviour.
Yeah. You become a different person. You revert back to childhood, don't you?
Yeah. I don't have to behave. Actually, I think when you get a bit older, you start to behave yourself again. But there's a period of life where you go home, and I didn't have to show respect to this house when I was living here. This is my home. And I don't have to act towards people in a different way. And so, people can be really obnoxious when they're at home with their family.
Yeah.
Whereas, in social circles, they're probably charming and really lovely people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's terrible.
I find that very, very interesting, how you can be one person in every other aspect, and then you go home and then your demeanor changes completely. Either you retreat, or you become obnoxious, or you become the loud one, or you become the bossy one. You go back to the same dynamics that you had as a child, and you start reliving them again. And all the little things that usually don't bother you, once said from that one sibling or that one parent, you go, Rrr!
Yeah. Well, I recognise that in my past with my family.
Yeah.
You talk about being triggered, going home and being triggered. Well, I actually used to quite enjoy it. I used to, oh, good. I'm going home at Christmas and my brother's going to be there, so there's a chance to have a really good argument. I don't know what we're going to argue about, but it will be really, really...
Looking forward to it.
We're really going to rip into each other, even though we'll probably actually agree on something, but we will get really, really, animated and it'll get very excitable, and especially if we've had a drink, really And I used to really enjoy it because I never actually did that anywhere else.
Exactly. You were really allowed to let your hair down because they say your siblings are the only people that know you for that amount of time. Like I was listening to something the other day that was really fascinating. They were like, your parents are not here for long enough. Your spouse and children meet you later in life. Your brothers and sisters are the only people that know you from when you were young until the end. And it's very interesting what they know about you.
Thankfully, my relationship with my brother and sister is now on a level where we're very nice to each other and we enjoy our company, and we might have a light frisson of an argument, but it's only a light one.
Yeah.
But certainly in the past, when I think you're still locking horns and there's an element of competition and whatever, we would definitely just lay into each other. And I'm embarrassed at some of the insults I've hurled at him, and he's probably embarrassed at what he said to me. But it's interesting.
Are there any things that are triggered when you see your dad again, and things that he used to say to you as a child that now still bother you, even though you're like a grandfather yourself?
No, I think my dad didn't trigger me a lot. It was more my mother triggered me. I remember my dad always, used to, make yourself at home, son. Aww. Make yourself at home, which meant make me a cup of tea. Like, it wasn't like...
Go do some chores.
Yeah. So, if I have people visiting me in my home, I wait on them like that. I'm so pleased that they're there. I'll make them a meal.
Even your own children?
Even my own children. I love entertaining my own children. Yeah. And to be fair, they'll
pull their
reciprocate.
Weight. Yeah.
But I like to have them in my home so I can look after them. I love it. But yeah, my dad literally... I go and visit him, it's an opportunity for me to look after him in his home. So, make yourself at home, son. 2 sugars. And the vacuum's over there.
Yeah.
So...
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But it's funny because, in a way, when I hear the word home, I do get a warm feeling.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
But all this conversation has been kind of a little bit negative, really, hasn't it? It's about how we don't always... display our best self, and we're triggered by things about home. I think it is amazing that when you go home, how quickly you do get triggered.
Yeah.
Even if you go there and you have the most positive thoughts, it's going to be a really good visit, but there will be things that will trigger you so quickly.
And it's so interesting because I feel like my friends don't ever trigger me, no matter what they say or do. And with my siblings, less than my father back in the day, I used to be so triggered and so sensitive, and I don't understand why, but I think that's the way family works. It's like all dynamics from childhood carry themselves to the future, especially if you stay like the first half an hour you're still very nice and civil, but then 2 days in and you're like, did you see what he said? That's why
I honestly don't visit for long. I don't. So Christmas I will go to the UK just for like 4 days, and I will spend a day with all my family.
Okay.
1 day in a room.
Yeah. Is enough.
Is enough.
Okay.
Yeah. I can just about put up with that. And it's nice. And then you leave thinking that was nice.
Exactly.
As opposed to, thank God
it's over.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
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 So where constitutes... I mean, I'm interested because you've been very well travelled in your life.
Yeah.
So when you hear the word home, where is that for you? Is that a feeling or is that a place?
That's very, very interesting because I was thinking exactly the same thing. The other day I was trying to calculate which country I've lived in the longest, and does that constitute home? Because that's very interesting. So I think now I might have spent a little bit more time in Germany than I have anywhere else. And slowly Germany is creeping into this class of its own, into this being home. But the interesting thing is, whenever I dream, I always dream of my childhood home and back in Aleppo. Yeah. It's fascinating, and I'm always about dreaming about my school back then and about my life there. It's like I'm 10 again. It's insane.
So, do you think that will always be home for you?
At least
your true home.
I think it will be always the idea of home will be there. The concept of home will be there.
Yeah.
But in actuality, I think my real home is Germany for sure.
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference between like the physical place where you really feel at home and the concept that, So the concept of home is Syria. I'll always think, oh, back in Syria we used to do that, and then all of a sudden you're like, but I really don't know anything about Syria anymore. People have changed, and my house probably doesn't exist anymore. So it's like all of these things have now ceased to exist, but still the concept of home would always be there, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. I will never have the concept of home here in Germany.
Yeah.
Even though chances are I'll end up living here for the rest of my life. And I've been here for long enough, sort of 12 13 years.
Yeah.
This is the distinction between your home and your house.
Yeah.
Your home and your Wohnung or whatever. Yeah, I live in Germany. That's where my house is. And I like it for what it is. But I don't feel any great emotional attachment. I don't feel a concept of home. This is my home and I'm attached to it.
But I wonder...
I really can take... I do feel I could take it or leave it.
But I think that if you were to live in China now, for a while, I think you might miss here more than you would miss England. And that's just
maybe
an opinion.
Maybe.
I mean, it would be like that for me.
I think I have a problem with trying to decide in my head where home is anyway, because I've moved around a lot in my life. So I come from the north of England, but I moved away from the north of England.
You were, what, 19?
17,
okay.
18. Well, I moved to the other side of the north of England, then gradually found my way down south, and then I've lived abroad as well. So, I guess the largest part of my life, I lived in the south of England, but I'm definitely not a southern English person. I definitely don't
identify. Yeah, exactly.
I have a house in the south coast, but again, I always felt a bit of an outsider there.
So interesting.
So I've lost the sense of home. The last time I probably felt that was, when I was in my early to mid-teens, when I lived, with family,
your parents,
outside Manchester.
Do you feel that maybe home is a person or is a few people? It's where your children are. Would that be home? Or is it where things are easy and familiar? Would that be home? Or is it where your memories are mostly?
Oh, it's really good. It's a really good question. It's kind of a cocktail of all of those things that creates that essence, doesn't it? So I think it would be difficult to have a concept of home without family associated with it in some way. Yeah. So I wonder, like in Germany, if I wasn't divorced, if I was in a relationship and living in a place, whether that would feel like home.
I think it would.
I think it would more feel like home. Whereas because I live on my own, Georgie, half the time, it doesn't, I don't have...
This attachment.
There isn't a family attachment to the place that I live.
Okay.
So I think that's definitely part of it.
But
I think the build-up of memories...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
In your formative years, like you said about Aleppo, so me growing up as a kid in Manchester and, all of the scrapes I got into, the music scene, everything like that, I associate with a particular place that we lived. And actually, we didn't live there for that long.
That's the other thing.
But that's the place that you say, where was your home? Oh, that
your
particular
mind
house
goes...
in Stockport near Manchester. That's the place that immediately springs to mind.
And that's exactly the same for me. Exactly.
If I was dreaming of home, that's where it would be.
Yeah. It's insane, really, how the mind works. But as I said,
I've lived in Ulm. Far longer than I lived in that house. But I can remember all the Christmases in that house. I can remember all the big family parties. I can remember all sorts of things happening in that house that maybe shouldn't have, or things I shouldn't have done.
But all the things that happen in your formative years, I think they are the most lasting. Yeah. So, because they leave an imprint on you that is really difficult to erase. And also because they're your first... that's when you're forming as a human being. So, of course, they matter most.
Although, what about those people who live in the same house all their life? I mean, then... imagine you're a couple and you live in the same house for 50 years.
I don't know how people could do that.
How could you move at an old age to go and live in an old people's home or something like that.
Yeah.
Your home is so much a part of you.
Yeah, exactly. And also all of your things. And I would find like the sheer amount of things that you collect over for 50 years, that would give me a nightmare.
Terrifying.
Exactly.
Terrifying. Yeah.
So
Weird.
what have you found for us, maybe in terms of something to read, or would you like me to read?
You go first. I think you hit the poetry.
Okay.
Yeah, I came at the literature from a slightly different angle this time.
So I found, that I love Gibran. And so I found two things by him from the same book, from The Prophet, which is one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
Just a side note. A few of my friends have bought the book now, and I saw it in my friend's home the other day.
Oh, wow.
I was so touched when I looked at her books, and one of them was the Daily Stoic as well. So she had two books there. One was the Daily Stoic and one was the Prophet. So shout out to my friend. I think she knows who she is.
Well done. Remember, we don't get any sponsorship or endorsement from any book company.
No, we don't.
Other books are available.
We don't.
Yeah.
No, but so there are two sections in that book about home, and there is one on houses, which I am not going to read, but it's nice. I would recommend reading it. I decided to read the section called on children.
Okay.
Because even though it doesn't really talk about home, it talks about the environment that the kids grow up in.
Yeah.
And in it, there is one of my favorite verses of all time. So I'm going to read it to you.
Let's hear it. Yeah, good.
So this is On Children by Khalil Gibran. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And he said, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable.
You hear it a lot, don't we, about the importance of a stable home environment. And interesting that the word home is used. Mm-hmm. Oh, he or she comes from a stable or a solid home environment.
Or a broken home.
Or a broken home. Not a broken family.
Yeah.
Not a broken relationship. Not that, but the word home is used.
Very interesting.
Which indicates it's not just the people.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the whole setting, isn't it?
Exactly,
In which
it's the environment.
family exists coexisting.
Yeah.
So, you could have the most beautiful house, but the relationships in that house are absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it lacks warmth, it lacks security.
The home itself is a broken one or dysfunctional one.
It goes back to the idea that home is a concept. It's not really a physical place.
Yes.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, but I love everything in this poem. I could read it over and over.
I love the analogy of the arrow and the bow. That's so good.
That is very good.
You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. It's a nice feeling.
I really like this idea of your children are not your children. They are the sons of and daughters of life. Yes. Longing for itself. I love that idea because it relieves the responsibility a little bit of the shoulder of the parent, because sometimes we blame ourselves thinking that we are the ones who are responsible for everything our kids do or don't do, and it's not true, because sometimes they come through life. We are just the vessel. So I find that
we send them on their way, but we're not the only thing that's going to impact them.
Exactly.
And we send the arrow, but we don't legislate against what it's going to hit or come into contact with or any of those things.
Well, that's a great analogy, what it hits on the way. Exactly, very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It did make me think,
Yeah.
I don't know if now's a good time to bring it in, but it did make me think about Stoicism, because there were some bits of that were similar to an article I was reading about what Stoicism means, or what home means to the Stoic. Let's see if I can find it. It's a bit like that. Let's see if I can find it.
Let me guess. Were they saying that?
Seneca.
Yeah, that home shouldn't be taken too seriously. It's just a surroundings, just a place, or
really, the trappings of home aren't that important at all. You are home.
You are
So
home within
bit,
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seneca. I find some people who say that a certain restlessness dwells naturally in the hearts of men, prompting them to change their dwelling places and find new homes. For man has been given an inconstant and restless mind that lingers nowhere, but travels far and wide, dispatching its thoughts to all place known and unknown, roving, intolerant of rest, and delighting in new environments. So on the one hand, saying we have this natural curiosity, so home, we're always looking for new places. But then he says, how can you wonder your travels do you no good when you carry yourself around with you? You are saddled with the very thing that drove you away.
Yeah.
So in other words, you look to find new places, new locations, new challenges, but you're taking yourself with you. You're taking
yourself with you.
You are
your experiences.
You are your own mobile home, aren't
exactly.
you? And you. So yeah, I quite like that, and I think that in a way that's not dissimilar to what Khalil was saying in there.
No, it's very true.
You are the home. You are the influence you have on your children.
Can I read to you something that is actually very similar as well before we move on? Because this is, I would say it's almost exactly the same as what you said. It's this time by my other one. Who's my other poet?
There are so many.
Rumi.
Rumi, of course, yes.
So this one...
To say that Khalil Gibran thing, the thing that struck me also when you're reading that was how, when you read Gibran, it is impossible to know when he wrote it.
Yeah.
It's so completely timeless.
Yes.
I'm looking at that and thinking, so he's probably wrote that in the 1920s or something like that.
Yeah. He died in 31, so it must have been something like that.
But that could have been written in the 14th century, or it could have been written
yesterday.
This year.
Yeah. And it would still be relevant, and the language is accessible.
Yeah.
It's really...
Because it's written in a kind of elevated style. It's so delicious to read. But it is completely timeless. Yeah. It's really beautiful.
He really writes unbelievably beautifully. Yeah. And so this one by Rumi is called The Guest House. And just a tip, I think I sent this video to you. If you go on YouTube, you can find the same poem read by, I always forget her name, Helena
Bonham Carter.
Bonham Carter, exactly.
I love her.
She does it beautifully.
Yeah.
So I would go and check it out. But I'm going to try and do my best here. There is no way I can match the beauty of how she read it. So, The Guest House by Jalaluddin Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house, empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
That does, again, links with the idea of home is not a physical location. It is
own
you.
home, exactly.
It is what you represent.
Yeah.
And in a way, your home is just an extension of that, isn't it?
And I really like how he wrote something that was quite a few centuries ago, that is now being discovered in psychology.
Yeah.
You know, in psychology, they are saying that if you repress any parts of you, this will come out as some kind of like trauma. This will hurt you. This will not allow you to be yourself, your authentic self. You can't thrive. You can't prosper. You'll have depression.
This is the 21st century
and it's true today.
Theme, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
About childhood trauma and about
also about like this idea of shame. This is something that Brené Brown talks about when she talks about owning your shame, and it's exactly what he's talking about. Shame, malice, dark thoughts. Let it all out. Better out than in.
Yeah.
Honor them and then let them go. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I love that. So you learn an awful lot about somebody from their home, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I came to your home...
Yeah, you thought, what a fantastic place this is. Or what a tip. He's a mess.
No.
He needs sort of...
No, I didn't.
Do you think that... well, that's a good case in point. Did visiting my home correspond to what you expected if my home was going to be a reflection of me as a personality?
Yeah.
Kind of...
Yeah, totally did. Because it was nice and artsy. Mm-hmm. I saw some art, some posters on the wall that were very kind of
I think
quirky.
Originals.
Yes, I found some originals. Yes, we don't want to tell people that because they might, have
they
thoughts.
could be around. Yeah.
No, but what really surprised me is the number of guitars you had around the house. How many guitars do you own?
About 9.
What the heck? Why?
Because I'm really, really good at buying guitars.
I thought you were going to say I'm really good at playing the guitar.
No, I'm really good at buying them. And then they lie there. Yeah, but they're interesting, you see, because I don't accumulate things. I don't see the home as a place for storing crap, which a lot of people unfortunately do. And again, that links to the link between your home and your personality type. So there are other people, you go to their home and it is, I get this terrible, I come out in a rash and I'm all anxious because there's just so much stuff.
Yeah.
I really hate it when I can't breathe.
I've been in places like that.
So much stuff. So I'm very aware of that. And so I don't tend to keep things unless I really need them. The one thing that I am emotionally attached to is my guitars because they all have a story.
Yeah.
And actually, I have got rid of some.
Yeah?
So, one stage, when I moved back to the UK, I sold 3 guitars.
And so what do you have now? You still have now 9.
Well, I bought some more because I thought, well, I've sold some, so I've got an excuse.
Making space for more. Yeah. So what is it that you wanted to tell me about how you can judge people by their homes? Do you have any data? Or?
No, I've not at all, apart from, just that experience of... I mean, when you see those TV documentaries...
About hoarders?
When people who've hoarding stuff. Oh. And you compare that to the TV documentaries about beautiful homes with beautiful Feng Shui.
Yeah.
And you think, there are people. We're all human beings. We're all basically the same.
Yeah. And
some people live like this and some people live like that.
Apparently...
And it's not just to do with money, is it?
No, it's not.
It's about a state of mind. I know plenty of wealthy people who live like pigs.
Yeah. No, herding is apparently related to childhood trauma.
Yeah.
I read about that. And it's about people who are afraid of letting go because they were abandoned at some point.
Yes.
And so they feel like they hold on to things because otherwise they lose themselves or they feel like they've been left. Or
that makes so much sense to me.
It's really sad.
Yeah, somebody, not personally. But
I was like...
No, not me myself, but I know...
You know someone.
I know somebody very well who has a house full of stuff.
And did it come from the abandonment as a child?
Their mother was really ill when they were young, so they didn't really get mothered in their teens.
Oh.
And so they did kind of feel abandonment.
Yeah.
And they were left to fend for themselves in those really formative years.
Yeah.
Which for, I think, a girl in your early teens, you really need your mom.
Yes. And then you hold on to things to give you that kind of security that, there's something familiar that you have that you can't let go.
And also having a father who also hoarded as well.
Oh, gosh.
So that influence, again, some insecurity on that side. So this creates a super hoarder.
Goodness. So you mentioned Feng Shui before.
Yes.
What is what's your idea of that, or what do you do in your home to make sure? First of all, what is Feng Shui?
Well, Feng Shui, I don't know a great deal about it, aside from it. It's about everything having a natural balance in the way it's arranged, so that you are at one with your surroundings. I guess this is what I'd say, but please put me right. But whatever it is, I like the concept.
Yeah, okay.
I like the concept.
So the idea of Feng Shui, of course, comes from China, and it has to do with your qi. So qi is energy.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea is that you have to let energy flow in your house.
Yeah.
And it has to flow the right way. So they have rules about where to put your bed, where to put a mirror. So for example, I found something really interesting. It's like never place a mirror opposite your front door, because when you open your front door and there's a mirror right away, whatever good energy comes in, it leaves right out. Exactly. Yeah. And so that's one thing. Never block doors, because you have to leave doorways open for energy to flow in and out. Yeah. Never put your furniture so close together. Also leave, airways for for energy to go in and out. Your bed should be facing the door, never hiding from the door, because you need to the idea is you need to know who's coming in and out of your room.
So you need to be able to see the door from your
exactly,
bed.
And so don't give your back or your head to the door, basically.
Yeah.
I really like one of the things about you have to have a balance of things in your home from the different 5 elements. Yeah. So you have to have wood, water, fire, metal, and
rock, stone.
Not plastic. Exactly, definitely not plastic. Let me see what it was. I think rock.
Is it stone? Yeah.
So earth, metal. So something like pottery.
Yeah.
Metal, water, wood, and fire.
Yeah. Do you know, although that's kind of like a philosophy, it makes complete sense to me.
Why?
Well, I think, I love anything to do with
wood,
interior.
Me too.
Wood.
I
particularly like wood. Not so keen on rock.
I was going to say I like wooden stuff in my house.
Very good.
Okay.
No, I was going to say I really like interior design, and so moving into a flat, there's like a blank canvas and thinking about how to arrange my stuff and whatever. I think some people have got a natural Feng Shui
for it
built in, where they look at it and can think about how best to arrange things, and which is a mixture of being practical, because you've got to live, you've got to be able to live, so you've got to have the ability to
space.
move, which is linked to finding
energy. Yeah.
So there's that, and having an eye for it is important, obviously. And then having a bit of taste. So mixing those 5 elements, I think, is also really important. And then there are some people who've just got no idea at all.
You go into their house and you're like,
why have you got that wardrobe in the middle of the room? Or or why is your telly there?
Exactly.
Where it's in a room?
It makes no sense, yeah.
So I think it's a really... I am surprised we don't sort of spend more time with kids sort of working on that as a skill, or
teaching them how to do it,
how to organise things and to...
Yeah, that's true. There are a lot of things.
To make things aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, but so let me go through this very quickly. What in your house is earth? Do you have things that are from the earth element?
To my socks. No, from the...
pottery? Do you have pottery?
Yeah, I have plenty of... I have both pottery that is there because of the art of the pottery. So things that are particularly nice, but I also have... I have... house plants in containers as well. Yeah.
Okay. Metal. Do you have anything in your? Let's talk about living room. Do you have things that are metal?
Metal. Well, I suppose any electrical goods have
fridge.
Got metal in the fridge.
Okay.
Appliances like that have got.
So, they said it doesn't have to be metal.
Stainless
like
steel
a metallic.
bowl. I like in my kitchen.
Yeah.
I bought some stainless steel bowls because I just like the feel of those compared to.
That is so interesting. I don't have a single one. I use them for fruit or something.
No, if I'm chopping things up, because I'm a little bit OCD. If I'm chopping ingredients up, I put them in little stainless steel bowls beforehand, so that when I'm adding them to the food. Like on a cooking program.
One by
and they
one.
and then we add a little portion of onions, and I've got them in a little metal thing.
My goodness, it must take you ages to cook.
I love it. I love that
fantastic.
when I'm doing it properly.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so water element?
Got a bath, got a shower.
No,
I
but
don't
like,
have a water feature, so to speak. No.
So there are people. I've seen this in Aleppo a lot, where they have a little fake waterfall flowing in the living room, and I never understood why.
Bubbling stream or whatever.
But they like the noise of that water, like flowing.
It would make me want to go to the toilet. If I had a 24-hour water feature.
Yeah.
I am a 24-hour water feature at my age.
Okay, wood. Do you have a lot of wood?
Got a lot of wood. All
Me
my
too.
guitars.
I love all things carved out of wood. I love that. Fire element. So it says finally the red color of fire energy is magnetizing and can illuminate.
It's interesting there. That's so interesting because I would love to have an open fire.
Oh yeah. Oh, that would be so lovely.
So the house that I had by the seaside, old Edwardian house. All of the rooms downstairs had big fireplaces that were still working. So in the winter, you could just have an open fire in literally every room. It's fantastic.
In every room?
Yeah, because that was the main mode of heating when the house was built.
What?
So you could have coal fires.
Wow.
And then my house I had a house in France, and it had one of these massive chimneys in the middle.
Yeah, so the heat would go up.
Yeah, and you could sit on both sides of the fire.
Oh, nice.
So different rooms, but the same fireplace. And you could look through the fire to the other room.
That's fantastic.
And I would happily sit with a glass of wine.
Gaze at it.
Just sit there and look at the fire. Fantastic. But my place where I live now just doesn't have that. I'd love to have some sort of, log burner or something.
I mean, you can get something that's like, you plug it in like electrical, but it has fire in it.
I sort of, that fake or faux fire
thing. Is it faux fire though, or is it real? I can't remember.
I'm not so keen on that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I did, and again, it must be subconsciously adopting Feng Shui. But I thought, I need a rug. Yeah. I need a rug, and I've got fairly subtle colours in my flat.
But this one's red.
But I brought red.
There you go. So that's exactly what they're talking about.
Bath. There's the red. Yeah.
Because it says when you need more passion or recognition.
Yeah.
So
that's why I bought a rug.
Yeah. Anyway, so here they're talking about like the mistakes that you can make with Feng Shui is blocking doors, leaving broken objects. So apparently that's something else. Either fix it or get rid of it. Don't leave anything in your home that is broken, which is really interesting.
Yeah. You notice a lot of people become blind.
Yeah, because
so they don't notice stuff that's been sitting there and hasn't been,
replaced
dealt with.
I totally.
Oh, there's the lamp sitting there on the side that you've been waiting for 9 months to put up, and it's still not been put up.
But that's the interesting thing when somebody comes to visit you, and if you are brave or if you appreciate honesty. So that's what happened when my mom came to visit the other day. I said to her, like, let's take a look at this room and change some things, and she was like, okay, let's take this out, throw that away, put that up there, put that, and it was really nice. It really changed the room.
Yeah, no, and you
just needed a fresh set of eyes.
With a fresh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, whenever my daughter comes, because I trust her sort of taste, I'll always say,
what is it?
Okay, what needs to go, what needs to stay.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, you don't
You don't notice it, exactly.
Like you don't notice when you look in the mirror that you're getting older, whereas somebody comes every 6 months.
That's heavenly mercy.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, so the last one, not the last one. I'll read them very quickly so we can move on. Neglect any objects or areas. So make sure that you pay attention to all of the areas of your home. Let your windows get too dirty. Apparently that also keeps the energy out.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm bad at that. Yeah.
So we lack clarity. We don't see things properly when they're So you should be cleaning your windows more.
My windows are dirty, but they've also got at the moment they've got loads of Halloween stickers all over them because they're used by my daughter to put those up, and so once those have gone, then the Christmas stickers will be in the window as well.
Aww. Yeah, see, there you go.
It's quite difficult to lead a very practical life and
when you
be
have a
completely
child.
Feng Shui.
Yeah.
Because you've got to hang your laundry up somewhere, and there's school bags and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that would be blocking doors, and you would fall over them and all of that. Yes, I know, I get it.
But I think it is worth taking the time and the care to try and do your very best.
I think every now and then, exactly, taking a good look, having a good friend over and just saying,
Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for life. And it was quite contentious, but one of them is you should make your bed.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you make your bed every day?
No.
Me neither. Okay, I'm glad.
I do make my bed before I get in it.
That's funny.
But I don't make it when I get up.
Because apparently you should not make it as soon as you get up because of all, the night bacteria and sweat and all of that. You should let it air out.
I pull the blankets off to air the bed.
Yeah, that's what you should do.
And then half an hour before bedtime,
you go and make it.
I go and make it so that it's all nice to get into. I mean...
that is really funny, but I totally get it.
Yeah.
Okay, here's an interesting one. Don't hang your artwork too low.
Okay.
Apparently, it should be a bit higher. Believe it or not, when someone has issues with sadness or low energy, this is the author, I often notice that their artwork or photographs, mirrors are hanging too low on the walls. The low artwork can bring down your chi.
Wow, that's quite interesting.
So maybe go and lift everything up. Store things under your bed. So apparently under your bed has to be... No, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
They said don't do it. You should leave it nice and airy under your bed, clean, no dust bunnies, and also no things stored under. I know a lot of people, because of lack of space, they have like suitcases. Exactly.
Actually, funny enough, do you know what I've got under my bed?
Ghosts.
Guitar cases. Because I've got quite a few guitars.
Okay.
And they all have cases.
They have to move. Sorry to break it to you. Yeah.
Did you? Nearly fell off the table then. Have you ever felt homesick? Rama's just laughing because I nearly fell. I did the elbow on the side of the table and missed and nearly fell on the floor. Yeah. That would have been a good... How did you die? You died in the middle of a podcast about Feng Shui, ironically.
Okay, so
homesickness. Have you ever experienced homesickness?
I think, other than having my home in my dreams all the time, which might be a manifestation of homesickness, I have felt... I might have felt it when I first moved here, but I don't feel that anymore. Because I feel like now this has become my home. If I miss anything, I miss memories. So I do miss very much when my mother used to make breakfast. And her breakfast was always the best. The best meal that she would ever make was breakfast. All of the little saucers full of things and conversations and jams. And it was just so lovely. And that I really do miss. And now I'm going to America and hopefully... My mom is there, and so she'll be doing these things for me. It's not about the breakfast; it's about her making that breakfast. It's
true.
It's just true. Those memories that I cherish so deeply.
Interesting, isn't it? Because homesickness, you associate it with, it's the distress caused by being away from home.
Yeah.
And children go away on school camp.
Yeah.
Or they go on a sleepover, but they can't stay over because they're homesick.
Yeah.
So I think for a particular age group. Of children. Yeah, I understand the concept in that respect. But I think it's bigger than the home. It's a bigger thing.
Yeah,
it occurs in history quite a lot. The concept of homesickness.
Yeah,
I was trying to do some research on the Bible. I mean, the Bible doesn't really explicitly refers to kind of the teachings of the Bible effectively as being the home or being the structure. But in both the Old Testament books of Exodus and Psalms, homesickness is explicitly mentioned, which I was quite surprised.
Homesickness, okay.
Yeah, but you'll recognise this, Boney M, by the rivers of Babylon. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That comes from Psalm 137.
Okay.
It's absolutely the same lyrics.
Really?
By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion.
Wow.
It's homesickness, thinking about Zion. And Homer, in Homer's Odyssey, opening scene features Athena arguing with Zeus to bring Odysseus home because he is homesick.
Aww.
Quote, longing for his wife and his homecoming.
Yeah.
Greek physician Hippocrates believed that homesickness, also called Heimweh from the German.
Yeah, Heimweh.
Heimweh, was caused by a surfeit of black bile in the blood.
Wow, so it's a physical thing.
Yes. And the more recent history, homesickness, was first mentioned specifically with reference to which European people. were first identified. This is in the 1600s.
Okay.
Which European people referred to as being homesick?
Was it Scandinavians?
Not Scandinavian.
Was it Germans?
Close.
Austrians?
No,
Swiss?
Swiss.
Ah.
Yeah. Swiss people being abroad in Europe for a long period of time. This is a document dating back to 1651. It was a normal phenomenon among the many common Swiss mercenaries serving in different countries and serving many rulers across Europe at that time. They'd stay away from home for many years, and if lucky enough, might return home alive. This phenomenon at that time was first only thought to affect Swiss people.
Oh, they got the Swiss disease, homesickness.
Until this was revised, probably caused by big migration streams across Europe, suggesting the same symptoms, and thus homesickness found its way into general German medical literature in the 19th century. And
medical literature?
Yeah, as a
thing.
True condition.
Yeah.
And then you only have to look what happened in the first half of the 20th century to see how obviously homesickness it must have been a massive outbreak of homesickness.
Absolutely.
All those displaced people.
Yeah.
And not just displaced from their home location, but from their families.
Yeah.
So,
and especially under which circumstances, which they were not under their control. I think that makes it even worse.
Yeah. So most of Europe, most of the world must have been homesick in the 1930s and 40s.
And also in America, can you imagine, in the New World, how many people there must have felt collective homesickness?
In the American history,
of course,
Susan J. Matt's Homesickness and American History describes experiences of homesickness in the colonialists, of course, coming from Europe, but also immigrants, gold miners, soldiers, explorers, and others spending time away from home. First, it was understood as a brain disease, a brain lesion. Homesickness is now known to be a form of normative psychopathology that reflects the strength of a person's attachment to home, their native culture, and loved ones, as well as their ability to regulate their emotions and adjust to novelty. So if you have homesickness, it tells you there's a few things going on there, isn't it?
It reminds me a little bit about my dad, because my dad died in America. Because of the war, he was forced to leave his home. And first he lived with my sister, and then he moved to Turkey, and then he moved to America, where he taught at the university for a while, and then he passed away there. But he loved his home, his literal home, like the place itself. He actually fought the whole family. We all did not want to move to that house because he decided to move into a house that was a very traditional house in the old city, which is not a fancy old city like it is here. There it's like, what do we call it? The inner city, which is very underdeveloped. And he decided to move us all there, and we all hated it, but he adored that house. He renovated it.
Yeah.
He would be like, oh, look at me sitting here under this jasmine tree, under the sun or whatever. He loved it so much. And then when he moved to America, the house was bombed. And we were all so scared. Nobody would show him the pictures. We hid it from him. And I think he was literally physically sick with homesickness.
Oh God!
It was really sad to watch. I never liked the house itself, but seeing how much he suffered missing that place, it made me very sad.
Yeah, it's kind of indicative, I think, of my attitude towards home. I cannot remember, certainly as a child, ever being homesick. So, when you go on a school trip or
all the children will be crying.
I never felt that way.
Me neither.
I was always very happy to be away. I enjoyed being away. I wanted my independence, I think. So I didn't feel worried by that factor at all.
I'm with you, because I don't feel like I have any attachment to a certain place. It's only that it features in my dreams, but because that's my formative years coming up. But I don't have any attachment to a certain place. And when I go away, I never say, oh, I miss my own bed. I mean, I know people who take their own pillows with them. They take things and they miss their stuff and their place. And I don't have that. I always enjoy being away.
Yeah.
Can I read to you something that you reminded me of now about, displacement and missing home and all of that?
Of course, yeah.
So I think one of the most well-known and famous Palestinian poets, his name is Mahmoud Darwish, and he wrote this poem, sadly, in 1964. He wrote it.
Born.
It's exactly. Yeah. He wrote it in 64, and it is exactly still the same for Palestinians everywhere. Still exactly the same. So this poem by Mahmoud Darwish was called ID Card.
Wow. Okay.
Write down, I am an Arab. My ID card number is 50,000. My children, 8. And the 9th is coming after the summer. Are you angry? Write down, I am an Arab. I work with my toiling comrades in a quarry. My children are 8, and out of the rocks I draw their bread, clothing and writing paper. I do not beg for charity at your door, nor do I grovel at your doorstep tiles. Does that anger you? Write down, I am an Arab, a name without a title, patient in a country where everything lives on flared-up anger. My roots took firm hold before the birth of time, before the beginning of the ages, before the cypress and olives, before the growth of pastures. My father of the people of the plough, not of noble masters. My grandfather, a peasant of no prominent lineage, taught me pride of self before reading of books. My house is a watchman's hut of sticks and reed. Does my status satisfy you? I am a name without a title. Write down, I am an Arab. Hair coal black, eyes brown. My distinguishing features? On my head a kufiya topped by the igal, and my palms rough as stone, scratch anyone who touches them. My address, an unarmed village, forgotten, whose streets are nameless, and all its men are in the field and quarry. Are you angry? Write down, I am an Arab, robbed of my ancestors' vineyards, and of the land cultivated by me and all my children. Nothing is left for us and my grandchildren except these rocks. Will your government take them too, as reported? Therefore, write at the top of page 1, I do not hate people, I do not assault anyone, but if I get angry, I eat the flesh of my usurper. Beware, beware of my hunger and of my anger.
Wow. You're so right that could be applicable a contemporary poem, couldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know exactly what it's like in the area that you live. Because, you know, I live close to the centre of town. And if I go out of my flat and see a cross-section of the people who live near me, it is such a mixture of cultural backgrounds. People from wealthy European backgrounds who've come to work in the area because it's a thriving area. But there's also an equal number of people from less fortunate, clearly fleeing whatever persecution and living in not so nice situations also in the location. So many displaced people. And you wonder to yourself, rather like, as in the poem, how can they feel a sense of home when they are not invited into the home of the country that they're living in? Do you know what I mean?
And still,
I feel like so many of those, immigrant stroke fleeing asylum seekers have been accepted into the country.
They haven't.
But have not been accepted into the home.
Exactly.
They're not being invited in and to make a home.
Yeah.
They're on the periphery.
Yeah.
And you can't help but wonder, no wonder there are social
They're acting up, yeah.
Because, if you're not made welcome, then of course you're not going to always behave as you might expect if somebody was invited into your home.
And the thing is, Tony, these people that you're talking about are the lucky ones, the ones who live in, cities, and maybe at some point they will have children, and the children will be, integrated into the system, and they will be fine.
Yeah.
But here, this guy, what he's talking about the early Palestinian displacement, where people were kicked out of their vineyards and their lands and everything, and they lived in camps on the sides of poor cities. So, for example, they lived in Jordan or they lived in Syria in camps, where in tenements, which was so sad to watch. And a lot of them held on to the keys of their homes, always going like, one day we're going to return. They just never did.
Never did. It's terrible,
it's really saddening.
And how we talked about homesickness, but you couldn't possibly, being away for a few days compared to just losing everything.
Exactly.
That must be terrible.
Yeah, it really is.
And I'm sure when you have your dreams, you dream of your home.
Yeah. I mean,
the land and the vineyard and the building and food and
the people who might have died, in such a situation as well. It's trauma upon trauma upon trauma. So it's really, I can't wrap my head around it. Luckily, I was never in this situation. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So
literature. Well, let's do a few facts first.
Yeah. Yes, please. I was looking forward to you giving me some facts. I bring in the depressing stuff, and you bring the facts.
I was the really depressing stuff. So, where in the world are home ownership rates high, and where are they low, would you say? So
I kind of did some research. And because I was very curious, but I was like, Tony will bring in the real numbers. From what I read, it seems to be that the most expensive place to own a home is Hong Kong.
Yes, that's probably, yeah.
And I think one of the most expensive in Europe.
Maybe Switzerland is pretty expensive.
I think Hong Kong apparently is, I don't know, we have to check the references, but might be those two. And apparently Dublin it's very expensive to own there as well, because it's like one of the most...
Become a bit of a hotspot for...
for businesses, so it's one of the most expensive.
London is ridiculously expensive as well.
Of course.
But why do certain countries have a... I mean, for example, in Germany, what proportion of people own their own homes, for example?
I think it depends on the demographic, like what age group. So if it's older people, then I would say maybe 80-90%. But if it's people in their 40s, 50s, early 60s, maybe 60s, I don't know, maybe 30-40%.
So the stats, interesting. So Germany is one of the lowest home ownership rates amongst the OECD countries. 40-something%. So I would just get you...
I would have thought about,
Just get you the statistics on that. So I think it's something like 43%. Renting is the widely accepted housing option in Germany. A large amount of the population prefer to rent rather than purchase a home. Because German housing law protects tenants' rights more than it does anywhere else, provides you with long-term stability and security when you rent, which you don't get that same protection in other countries.
Places, but also it's extremely expensive here.
And it is expensive, but it's not as expensive as it is in other places where people do try and own their own. And then so in the UK, for example, I would be in the minority renting at my age. Everybody
owns something.
There is a pattern, which is the richest countries tend to have a lower home ownership rate, which kind of goes counter to
what you would have
think.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone in poor countries owns their own home.
Yeah, because like in Syria, for example, back then when it wasn't so poor, but it wasn't a developed country, most people owned their homes. Yeah.
So you would think Western world, we're all anxious about, let's get on the property ladder. We need to be on the property ladder. It's a good investment. And we'd expect United States, Germany, Sweden, rich countries to have very high home ownership rates, but not actually true. These countries have relatively low home ownership rates when you compare that to something like Romania.
Interesting.
95% of people in Romania own their own home. Vietnam, 88%.
Wow.
Cuba, 90%. Even in India, you are twice as likely to own your own home as if you live in Switzerland.
Crazy.
Mexico, 80%. India, 86%. Switzerland, where almost 16% of adults are millionaires, and supermarket cashiers earn over $5,000 per month.
Say again, cashiers.
A supermarket cashier in Switzerland earns more than we do.
Yeah.
But only 42% of adults own their own homes.
Okay, and 16% are millionaires.
Yeah.
What?
16% of adults in Switzerland
Oh my goodness.
are millionaires. And also put that figure then for Romania, 95%. Germany's 49%, Japan 55%, Denmark 59%, and the UK, for example, 63%.
Wow.
So I think of the UK as being, everybody owns their own home. It's not.
It's not true. I think also it depends, like you said, on the age. If they're younger, then they're most likely renting.
Yes, yeah. But the pattern in those countries hasn't changed much. The differential has stayed the same. Everybody's home ownership over the last 20, 30 years has gone up a touch.
Okay.
So Germany's gone up from sort of 44% to about 49%.
Okay. Have gone up, not gone down.
Yeah,
okay.
gone up a little bit, but
Okay.
not a great deal.
Okay.
And it's not catching up. So that's
Very interesting.
quite interesting. The Bundesbank, if we want to talk about Germany, and the reasons for the low home ownership, the Bundesbank did a study, which I was sad enough to read. Interesting, looking at home ownership rates, but Germany is the lowest in Europe, basically. Highest rate is in Spain,
Okay.
where 82% own their own home.
Wow. Okay.
But Deutschland.
But I never
40-something.
understood the idea. Like, if you can't afford to buy, why rent? Because it seems to me like you're just giving that money away and you're not keeping anything. You're living in it now. But, like, if I really worry about old age when my pension will not be enough to pay my rent.
You can come and live with me, it's all
Oh,
right.
Tony,
Come and,
isn't that kind?
This is my spare room.
That's lovely.
As long as you feed the gerbils.
As long as I don't die looking at the gerbils.
Yeah. Yes. The reasons for the low home ownership rate in Germany relative to other countries can be explained by a number of factors that aren't that interesting for this podcast, I would say. The relatively high real estate transfer tax.
Yes.
So you get taxed so heavily if you buy a property.
Yes.
There's this massive, and I looked at that.
Yeah, me too.
You get here. This is how much it costs. Oh, and then I've got to pay another like 10%.
Yes.
in transfer tax.
Yes. And also the notary as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like the tax and this
absolutely.
person, and so you're putting a huge chunk of money that doesn't go into the price of the house.
Yes. The absence of mortgage interest payments tax deductibility. So in other countries, you are incentivized by getting tax benefits by paying mortgage interest. So in the UK, it's kind of like there is an incentive to go and buy because you will get some tax breaks for your mortgage. You don't get any incentive at all in Germany for that. And the other thing is there's such a large amount of the housing has been bought by people to rent to other people.
Oh, yeah.
So there is a really big
Market.
social housing sector, either in terms of public housing or private ownership, that there isn't enough of a market to stimulate people to buy because it's so,
Rare.
So I'll look on a property website and there'll be like 2 houses to buy at all.
Yes.
Like that is the housing market.
Yes.
So you generate no kind of growth and stimulus for people to get into it.
That's
because
true.
it's such a small market.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Strange.
Right?
Really strange.
Yes. What else can I tell you?
I was looking at, while you look at some statistics, I was looking briefly, and it says that in America at the moment, single women own more homes than single men. which is so interesting because it shows that women are now being...
Sorry, single women own more homes than they own single men.
No.
Sorry. I need to concentrate.
No, it's just that women are more interested in buying their own homes than single men are, which is really interesting because it shows that women are now fed up with men. They're like, I've got to rely on myself because no man is coming to save me, which is really, really cool. Yeah. But also a bit sad because like if a woman feels so independent and so self-reliant, she might just say like, why would I need to be with someone? Yeah. Which also would feed into this idea of transient relationships and loneliness as well.
That's true. I mean, I see that as a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing.
Women are independent and
they don't need a man.
Stand up on their own 2 feet. I think that's true. But I think also that idea of loneliness, people spending more and more time on their own
because they're like, I don't need anybody, I can be on my own as well. So I know you want to tell me something about being at home all the time. Yeah. Just before that, can I tell you about one of my dreams, a little fantasy that I have?
It depends whether it's worth...
I knew it.
Do we need to take a break from the... Does it involve a red rug?
No. Okay. First of all, there's an account on Instagram where they advertise chateaus in France, and these are quite dilapidated, and they needed someone to renovate them. Good. And I've always dreamt that me and my friends, you're very, very welcome, would put our money together and buy it, renovate it, and live, in separate wings of it, for example. Yeah. And then every now and then, if we want, we can have dinner together, little parties together. Yeah. We can also have somebody who kind of comes and cleans for us, or rent out one of the rooms as an Airbnb. Yeah, that is my dream. Yeah. And I'm going to make it happen. Communal living, but at a nice high level.
I think I wouldn't normally be a fan of it because I'm very much I like my own space. But I think,
but that would be your own space.
As a model for future living, I think collaborating with other people to share the costs. Yeah. In the same way as a benefit of renting is you share the costs of the neighbouring Coston and whatever. So you could share your general expenses and keeping the upkeep of the building. Yeah. But you still retain some independence.
That's exactly what I mean. You would have your own suite basically with your own bathroom, your own stuff. You don't have to come down to dinner with us. But if I cook so well, of course you're going to come.
Of course. and the cost per square metre doesn't go up linearly. So it is amazing, even looking within my sort of remit of trying to buy something for relatively small, the difference between buying, say, a 60 square metre apartment and a 100 square metre is not, it's not whatever, 66% more expensive. Yeah. So you can get, so if you double the size, you go 200 square metres, it's not double the price of 100. Exactly. So, and often these really, really big places, people are put off those because of the renovation costs and the upkeep.
And also which family is going to be big enough for that place. Sure. So it would be great for people to, pull their resources together and live there. And
rather than them being another building that's going to be bought by a property developer who's going to do all the conversion and sell it to people as small units or rent it out.
Exactly. Or live in an apartment building with people that you don't get along with. So that's my dream, Tony. So,
it's a good one. It's a good one. I like the idea.
So what did you want to tell me about people spending too much time at home?
I just picked up some interesting stats on the way. Yeah. Do you think that COVID was one of those major life events that's changed the way that we do things.
Absolutely.
So, there are also a lot of statistics about people working from home now and how those working habits have completely changed as well. So the home now isn't just where we live. For a lot of people, I think in Germany, something like 45% of the population are working from home at some stage during the week, compared to a statistic
what it used to be, which is like 10%
or something like that. But since COVID, do you think you spent more time at home than you did?
I think so, for sure. Because I think like during COVID, a lot of people took that time to renovate their homes and make them more livable. And so maybe more people now work from home.
And perhaps find things to do that they didn't realise.
Hobbies and things, exactly, yeah.
So this is talking about the American population right now. But on a typical day, Americans have been at home for 1 hour and 39 minutes more in 2022 than, say, in 2003, before the COVID. So this is a sample of adults in the United States keeping a time diary for 24 hours of all their activities. So there is a long-term rise in time spent at home amongst US adults. And this is across all ages, genders, races, and ethnicities. So even, the younger age group,
generation,
under
who you
age
think
35,
are out partying,
of course, they generally spend less time at home than older adults, 55 and older. But they have seen the same percentage increase during that time frame. So what's happening? And does this mean then that people are becoming more socially isolated? Or is it just that people are living a different life but still have the ability to make social contact?
So I think we all know that like societies these days are all seeing the same thing in terms of becoming more individualistic, where in the past we used to live in communal spaces with our families and we used to share a home, multi-generational homes. Now everybody lives, that there's this small family unit. And now it's even more that people live on their own in single homes. And if they're working from home, they also, sometimes there would be days where they don't leave the house because, you've gone shopping, you are tired. What's your incentive to leave the house? Whereas if you were living somewhere else on the way home, you might see something, listen to some music, street buskers or things like that. So I feel like it's a bit dangerous, and we've seen it in some of our students, who don't show up to school anymore because they have anxiety. We saw some students.
That's how I feel most days, to be honest.
And so I do feel like people are becoming more and more isolated. I don't know if they go back to traveling, if they travel as much as they used to before COVID. That would be something interesting to look up.
Well, it's interesting when we talked about holidays and stuff. I think people are going away and like to do the adventure stuff, but I don't think that they're as adventurous in their spare time.
Yeah.
So that the weekends doing stuff. I don't think people. People who spend more time at home also spend a lot more time alone. So it's not like everybody's staying at home together.
Yeah, exactly.
But they also spent more time with family. So they're spending more time at home alone, but also more time with family. So it's a mixture. People aren't generally becoming socially isolated. They're just spending more time at home. So they are getting more contact with family. They're also having more time on their own. And I see the benefits in both of those. So research shows that people who live alone are generally more connected to other people, which goes kind of counter to what you expect.
Yeah, that's not what I think.
So people who live alone spend more time with friends than people who live with others.
Interesting.
So they actually make more effort
to go out and meet people,
And the narrative that says, this is just the outbreak of a loneliness epidemic is not actually, doesn't seem to be
the case.
Borne out. People are definitely no sadder, based on feedback in a number of surveys. People are not sadder than when they were engaging more with the outside world. But they were less happy.
They were less happy?
They were less happy, but no sadder. So the peaks of,
less satisfaction.
Down, but they're not. They don't feel lonely.
Okay.
They're just not as happy, which isn't the same as being
sad,
lonely and sad and isolated. So
it's interesting. But if you look at what we said before about our students, the children who don't come to school anymore because of things like that. I don't know if that was the case. I had never seen that before COVID. Yeah.
No, it was a rarity, wasn't it, for people not to come to school? Whereas now, there's some students who just got really
We've
bad.
Never seen them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gosh.
Have you got any? I know you like you have some songs for us about home. Maybe
yeah, when you talked about poems, so I thought let's go somewhere else rather than poetry, because we tend to find the same poems.
Yeah, that's true.
So I thought, where does home feature? And I thought it is one subject that appears so often in classic songs.
Yeah.
Take Me Home, Country Roads.
Yeah.
Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree. These classic songs are all about coming home.
Yeah.
Sweet Home Alabama. Sweet Home
Alabama. Yeah.
All about that. So there are some classic songs. So I thought, what are a couple of classic songs that are all about home?
Yeah.
So the two that I thought I could read
Share
to
with us,
you.
Yeah.
You know the song "The Green Green Grass of Home."
I don't think so.
So Elvis Presley recorded this, and then Tom Jones. It's good to touch the green, green grass of home. Okay. This was written by a guy called Curly Putman. Curly Putman. And
Putman or Buttman?
No, you're not Buttman. Chris Rea. Chris Rea and Curly Putman.
Exactly, I like that's a lot of butts. Okay. Do you want to sing it?
No. But I didn't realise what this song was really about until I saw the lyrics. So I'll read it to you and see if you get it.
Yeah.
The old hometown looks the same as I step down from the train, and there to meet me is my mama and papa. Down the road I look, and there runs Mary, hair of gold and lips like cherries. It's good to touch the green, green grass of home. Yes, they'll all come to meet me, arms reaching, smiling sweetly. It's good to touch the green, green grass of home. The old house is still standing, though the paint is cracked and dry, and there's that old oak tree that I used to play on. Down the lane, I walk with my sweet Mary, hair of gold and lips like cherries. It's good to touch the green, green grass of home. Then I awake and look around me at 4 grey walls that surround me, and I realise, yes, I was only dreaming. For there's a guard, and there's a sad old padre. On and on we'll walk at daybreak. Again, I'll touch the green, green grass of home. Yes, they'll all come to see me in the shade of that old oak tree as they lay me 'neath the green, green grass of home.
It's about death.
He's obviously on death row.
Yeah.
A death row prisoner, dreaming of home.
But in the afterlife.
And then he wakes up and realises it was all a dream, and he's about to be led out by the sad old padre and the guard to be euthanized. So, gosh. Yes, when I've listened to that, it's good to touch the green, green grass of home. I thought this was a great, happy song.
Coming home song.
He's about to be killed.
Oh.
So I will listen to that when I get home.
Yeah, so will I.
And then the other one that I used to listen to this all the time because my mum used to love Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, I love them too.
Yeah?
I mean, I don't know that many songs by them, but the ones I know I love.
So they wrote a song called Homeward Bound. Mm-hmm. And it was all about the boredom of being on the road, touring, and just wanting to go home. Mm-hmm. So it goes like this. I'm sitting in the railway station, got a ticket for my destination, on a tour of one-night stands, my suitcase and guitar in hand, and every stop is neatly planned for a poet and a one-man band. Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound. Home, where my thoughts escaping. Home, where my music's playing. Home, where my love lies waiting silently for me. Every day's an endless stream of cigarettes and magazines, and each town looks the same to me. The movies and the factories and every stranger's face I see reminds me that I long to be homeward bound. I wish I was homeward bound. Home where my thoughts escaping. Home where my music's playing. Home where my love lies waiting silently for me. Tonight I'll sing my songs again. I'll play the game and pretend. But all my words come back to me in shades of mediocrity, like emptiness in harmony. I need someone to comfort me. Homeward bound. I wish I was homeward bound. Homeward bound. Home where my thoughts escaping. Home where my music's playing. Home where my love lies waiting silently for me.
Aww.
And I kind of get that. When I used to work away a lot, and you'd be staying in a hotel all week, and so that concept of being on the road, and that just desperate to be home.
Oh, yeah.
To sleep in your own bed, to have your own things around you.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of the homesickness that we talked about
Yeah.
earlier. Yeah, and that concept of home is such a great topic for songwriting.
Absolutely. Because we all ache to be home, whether it's metaphorical or physical.
Yeah, and
because there's this coming back to something familiar. I think that's what it's about.
So going across home is about a childhood memory of beauty of your home and what it represented, the innocence of your youth, and now you're about to be killed. Homeward bound about, the mundanity of your life and how you really want to return back to your home. Another song, I won't read it all, but a guy that I used to follow from about the age of 15, 16, from Stockport, where I come from, a guy called Clive Gregson wrote a song called Home is Where the Heart Is.
Yeah.
So I really love that concept. So his song about home isn't about the bricks and mortar. It's about who is it that's knocking on your front door?
Exactly.
Who is it that's knocking on your front door? Is this the friend that you need to know? Is this going to make it into your home because it's where your heart is? And I really like that sort of imagery.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah.
I mean, the Sweet Home Alabama is really celebrating, the Southern American state being, true home
tradition,
identity,
exactly. Yeah.
So many different aspects that you can celebrate with home. Yeah. Oh, good. Are we nearly there?
I think we
Is it
are.
nearly time to go home?
It's time to go home, I'm afraid.
I'm going to return to my castle because, as you know, there's a very, very famous phrase in England, which is that an Englishman's home is his castle.
Oh, very nice. It's better than a woman's castle or is her home / kitchen.
A woman's place is in the home. Notably the kitchen. Now, an English home is castle, a proverb that is hundreds of years old, traced back to the late 1500s. So this is one of those idioms that's been around forever, meaning that all men have a right to their own privacy and autonomy.
Very good.
An Englishman's home is his castle. In other words, I have the right to privacy. The proverb describes a sentiment that entered English law in the 1600s. No one may enter another person's home without permission. In 1628, Sir Edward Coke wrote in the Institutes of the Laws of England, "For a man's house is his castle, et domus sua quique est tutissimum refugium."
Very nice.
Bit of Latin
Refugium.
there for you.
I like that. Refuge.
So some have interpreted the proverb as that a person can do whatever he wishes in his own home.
Okay.
So this is why, for a lot of domestic issues, domestic violence, for example.
They'll say, it's my home, I can do whatever I want.
Absolutely. So a lot of problems with a man feeling it was his domain to act however he liked. And if that meant beating his
wife or
partner or children up, then that was okay because it was within his house.
Yeah.
And the law
and he has sovereignty there.
Yeah, the law kind of had some sympathy with that.
Yeah.
And if you think about the proverb travelled to America in the late 1600s and became a man's home is his castle. And even more universal sentiment there to the extent that somebody steps into your house, you can shoot them.
Yeah, exactly. It's trespassing. Exactly. I have the right to shoot you because you're on my property.
Because this is my castle.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, that's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yes.
Can we close by something sweet that I wanted to tell you?
Yeah.
So there is this thing now, neurodivergent people, who are maybe on this, like the spectrum.
The spectrum, yeah.
There is something now in this is how they show that they like someone because they can't express it the way we do.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they do is now called pebbling. So pebbling is basically
throwing stones at each other.
Shiny ones. As long as they're shiny, it's okay.
Yeah.
No, but it's like giving you little things, tokens every now and then, sending you a meme or sending you a song or, getting you a small gift from somewhere. That's their idea of pebbling. And it comes from the idea, which is so sweet, from penguins. So penguins, apparently, the male penguin would pick the nicest, shiniest pebble that he can find and give it to the penguin he's mating or he's flirting with. He's trying to make a partner.
Darling, here's a shiny
pebble. Darling, exactly, a shiny pebble for you.
Yeah.
And then she would take it, and then they would keep trying to find more to build a home from.
Wow.
So that's how they build their home.
Are these pebbles supposed to be like a surrogate for an egg? Is it supposed to represent
No, I think it's
an egg, or is it just
it's just supposed to be kind of like how I woo you is by bringing you a shiny pebble, which is like basically the foundation of our home. And so if you take me, then if you take that pebble, that means you've accepted me, and then I bring you more, and then we make a nest, out of these pebbles, and we live there. And usually, apparently, they mate for life, which is really beautiful. So
that's really nice.
I just really love that idea of little penguins tottering around,
giving each other
little shiny pebbles.
I don't think much of that pebble.
He's got me a shinier one. I'm going with him.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool. And actually, I really like that. My daughter is always gifting me the most pointless things, but they mean so much.
Exactly.
Papa, I found this feather, and I thought I'd give it.
Oh my God.
It's been on the street. It's probably
dirty
as hell, but that's so nice.
That is so cute.
Here's a stone that I found for
stick.
you. Stick.
Yeah, they love sticks. Kids love sticks.
So I've got a little collection. I've got a drawer that's just full of all sorts of stuff.
But that is so cute. See, that's pebbling.
It is in a way.
And one day you can make a home out of them.
Yeah. No, what I'm going to do is one day I'm going to give them all back to her and say, now, you
take
find
these.
somewhere. You gave me these when you were a kid. You can have them back now. I've got no room for them. But it's rather lovely.
Yeah.
Very
Alrighty.
Good. Super. So do you feel like you're about to go home now? Or are you going to where you live?
No, I'm going home. Because my kids are there, that's, where the heart is. And it's got all of my memories and all of my things. But would I be opposed to leaving and going somewhere else if so need be? No, I'm not attached to any one place. So it's wherever my people are.
Wherever I lay my hat.
Exactly.
That's my home.
Exactly.
Another one.
There we go.
And that's a song as well.
Yeah.
That's a good song.
Sing it.
Yeah. Wherever I lay my hat, that's my home. Shall we go now?
Yay!
Yes, I'm going to go and lay my hat.
Yes.
Good.
So
that was great.
And I'll see you then next time.
Yeah, that was great.
Yay!
And bye.
Bye.
We hope that you've enjoyed listening to the readings we chose for you today.
And that our musings have ignited your thoughts.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and those you think would enjoy it.
If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or any kind of feedback, please send us an email using the email in the show notes.
We'd love to hear from you with the words that make you.